Hello, I'm Andrew Christofferson. I'm a technical animator over at Uber Entertainment, and I wanted to show off my new rigging module, Spliner. It's written in PyML and utilizes cute interfaces. And if you just import it, well, it's up on GitHub, so I'll put a link on the video. And if you download it, you can check it out for yourself. You just import in the rig tool and then run rig tool dot meta tool. So with this rigging module, I wanted to introduce the concepts of metanodes to define my skeletons so that I can iterate my rigs and maintain a skeletal definition that is not dependent on the rig itself. So here, my first interface for setting up a character, I will set up some of these nodes. First off, define the character with a name and its top skin joint. And this scene is just this mesh skin to this kind of blank skeleton. And we create that. And the first thing you see is it imports a bunch of reference shapes in for building the rig. And if we look at non-DAG nodes, then you can see it started to create these meta nodes. So the top one is the master meta, and that contains the name and links to some of these other metas. Here's all the shaders that we're going to be using for the rig, and the top skin joint. This thing will start getting appended with the other limbs that we're going to define. So first up, we'll create the arm meta, and just call it left arm, and create. This creates a new meta node that has all the information in it and kind of defines where the limb starts and ends. And that's an easy way to let the rigging tool get off the ground. So here, do the other arm, add in these parts, and then grab our spine, which goes from spine A to chest. Just call it spine. And then here's the limb type. So create this spine. And then the legs, this part. Hip, ankle, left, leg. And then in the leg, we create some foot vectors that we can position where we want our reverse IK to pivot from. And then this will get saved into the metadata. Create. That's all there. You can see over here, it's got a toe and a heel vector position. And then we'll do the same for the other side real quick. Foot vectors, heel, and toe. Create. All right. And then you can see it's been populating this lower field with the different limb meta nodes. And in here we can adjust the control scale. So pulling this out, kind of getting it up where we can fill out his chest, make sure it is easy to select. And then there's a little one down here. The pelvis is more important, so I usually like to make this lower one pretty small because he's pretty skinny in here. Save the scale. We do the left arm, which can be a little tighter to the wrist. Get out of the way a bit. Make this part a little smaller. Just to define how big these boxes need to be easily selected. And save the scale, and then with it selected, we can mirror it over to the other meta node, make sure they just have the same scale data. Then the leg, maybe make it a little fatter, deeper, a little skinnier. There we go. And little ankle joint. Save scale, mirror it over. That's all we need out of the meta nodes. And these things can just hang out here. They're usually hidden to artists, so you don't even have to look at them. And they contain the definition for what this skeleton is and what rigs should go where. Then we pull up the rig tool dot setup tool, and very simple. Just we did all the work already with setting up the meta nodes, so here we just tell it to put on the different rigging components. Create the base rig, drop our meshes in there, and it creates the root, the base attributes, and a body and pelvis in here. And from there, we can start adding in our different pieces. Add the spine on, creates that. Then left arm and right arm. Left leg and right leg. All built up. Oh, I forgot to scale up my control. Need to make it fill out the palm. Whatever. Fix that later. But you can see here, all the rigs set up now, created from the generation base FK stuff right now. One interesting part is my new spine. I'm testing out an RFK, reverse forward kinematic spine. So here we have the chest, which just rotates, and then some of the rotation propagates down the spine to create some nice shapes. And same with the pelvis. It gets some of its rotation to go up the spine that's weighted by the bones that are closer to it. And then even when we get like a base shape that we're happy with, we can tweak the pose by going in and just moving each of these controls around in our own little way. So they take on their own life. So really easy to dial in some rough poses and get some great shapes. I was using a spline IK spine before, and that one was great, but also kind of couldn't get a lot of kind of kinked or edgy shapes. A lot of it just naturally smoothed everything out, and it relied on having a lot of bones. So as a game animator, I like I'm inspired by this solution to be able to reduce my spine bone count and keep things a bit simpler, easier for me to weight and whatnot. My arms have some base like clavicle IK control, and then on the root now all the limbs have an isolate function on them, so you can isolate it, and all the limbs will just kind of keep their orientation, but still go with the body control. And from here, you can switch over to the IKFK. I've had these controls before where I have template visibility to kind of tweak the way the controls get displayed while you're switching between FK and IK. And one of the benefits of switching to this metanode system is I can more easily find my different controls and then snap FK to IK. Before I was relying a lot on text strings and whatnot, which if I had a consistent naming convention would work, but every time I had a character with like 4 arms or something, then all of a sudden everything flew out the window. So if you have a node system that you can walk down and query for all the different pieces, it becomes a lot easier to reliably grab all your switch controls and whatnot. And this time instead of just putting all my rotation on the IK control of the foot, I'm going to try out putting on some pivots here that you can just grab on to. For so many times when I was animating dances and whatnot and other, complex ball rotation that I do through a lot of animations, like just pivoting it up wasn't enough. I wanted to be able to like really create a dynamic pose, and I kept adding in all the rotation axes as different attributes, and I was like, well, why don't I just make a control I can select? Why clutter up the base IK with a bunch of attributes when I can just have a different control that I can rotate? Seems easier. I don't know. I'll try it out for a while, see if I like it. The hands are all kind of start out as metacarpal IK controls if you have them, and then once you get like a big palm position you like, they have all the controls for the finger to curl and twist and spread just to kind of define that shape and get it where you want it. I enjoyed on the last project having metacarpal control, so I'll continue playing with that. I still need more stuff, lots of planned features to put into the rig at some point. I definitely want to get into some type of automated head rigger that will automatically build up some interesting controls for mouth and eye tracking and whatnot. This guy doesn't need any eye tracking, but I got plenty of characters that do. So yeah, more rig styles that I can define and execute on, and making sure my pipeline can strip rigs and put them right back on without having to redefine a bunch of stuff. So this is like my first 1.0 where I'm starting to get it together, and excited about a lot of the new functionality, but plenty of more stuff to build. So want to get to stretchy limbs, got to expand out that. There is a stretch functionality on the spine. There's a little, so you can like expand it and contract it a bit, but definitely want that for my IK controls as well, so that I can get that back. Always fun for the cartoony characters. So continue to build it, continue to submit it to Git. So if anyone's interested in playing around with it or seeing what I did, check it out up there. Uh, Thanks for following along, and I hope you enjoyed the demo.